Well, that was an abrupt cut. That was so abrupt. All right, you guys. We are live. This is the future. Happy 2018. What are we talking about today? Well, today we got a couple of guests on the show, and we also have Matthew Encina and Greg Gunn. Why are they on the show? Because we're going to be talking about the business of motion design. We've got 4 School of Motion alumni that are going to be on the show with us. They've got so many questions that I can barely contain in a Google Doc itself. You guys stick around for that. We are going to roll the titles right now. All right, we're back. Sorry, I was like looking at my sound effects machine here, you guys. I'm gonna have to fix that in a little bit. So let's cut to the deck and introduce our 4 guests on the show today. First up, it's Ryan Plummer. He's a post-production specialist. And then Dorka, how do you say your last name? Museb? Museb, perfect. Freelance motion graphic designer and animator. We have Jake Bartlett, freelance motion designer, online instructor. Do you teach at the School of Motion?
I do.
Whoa, there's a plant in the audience, you guys. Wrong. All right. See how this is going to work. And last but not least, and in black and white, is Alex Pope. She's a freelance animated illustrator and a classmate of Miss Erica Pede, our editor.
Yep.
All right, guys. Just in case you don't speak English or you're hearing, what is that? You need some captioning. Here's how you spell their name. I am not speaking well today. And we're going to be doing the business of motion design. All right, so let's jump in. Let's look at our guests.
Hi.
Let's look at our guests. Where are they?
Maybe.
There they are. Yes.
Hey.
Hi.
All right. The first thing I want to just say right off the bat, you guys. First thing I want to say right off the bat is you all need to take better headshots. Like Jake has an amazing one. Ryan has a pretty good one. And then Dorka and Alex fall off the bus.
I know.
Look at that. Low res. I mean, it is kind of like nice window light there. You got a whole attitude going. But Jake's got like, who's your photographer, Jake? I need
that would be my wife.
Woo!
Yeah.
He's got great. He always has great lighting, though. He really does.
He does.
He really does.
All right,
All natural, buddy.
You all need to become friends with Jake's wife and get better headshots done. Okay? All right. Let's get into the show. Why don't you guys hit me up with your first question? What's going on?
I'll start that one off.
Okay.
Basically, I want to know, as a motion designer, what you're looking for when you're hiring. Is it just going straight to that motion designer's demo reel, or do you go a little bit further to look at a portfolio and see, like, are you looking for project breakdowns or their Behance portfolio, Dribble, Instagram? Like, what specifically are you looking for when you're going to go hire a motion designer?
Okay, is this a new graduate?
Me?
No, I'm asking, like, is this through the eyes or the lens of new graduate or just in general?
Oh, okay.
Give me some context, guys.
I'm thinking in terms of if you're running your own company, right? When you're going to hire somebody yourself, somebody at your level, you need a motion designer.
Mm-hmm.
What are you looking for? Like, is it experience or just based on the quality of their work?
Perfect.
What type of details do you need?
Okay, so we're going to answer this in the best way we know how. We're going to answer this as ourselves, basically. And I have 2 amazing people who are going to be able to do that. And I'm going to throw this right over to them. Boom.
Gosh, dang it. Greg, you can go first. I'm going to tilt the mic towards you.
All right.
Here you go.
Greg,
go speak right into
Greg,
that.
who's busy actually reading comments and doing drawings and things of that nature.
That's true.
Greg, are you ready to answer this?
Yeah, I've stopped drawing my picture of Kylo Ren, and I'm ready to answer this question. The question was, could you repeat it?
Yeah.
What do you look for? What do you look for?
Attention, dude.
What do you look for a new graduate? In their portfolio experience, like what is the number one thing?
What's the number one thing? Let's
You're
see.
looking to hire somebody.
It really varies a lot. Typically, when we bring on a freelancer for a project, I first think about, okay, what is the project I'm doing? What are the roles that I need to fill? Do I need a graphic designer? Do I need a character designer? Do I need an animator or a 3D animator? So I try to kind of visualize the team that I'm looking for. And then I go and I seek out people who I think would be a good fit for each of those roles. So it's hard to pinpoint, but I mean, like, broad scope stuff, great work is assumed. So you have to have fantastic work. If I'm watching your reel, I want to be impressed in the first 10 or 15 seconds. Beyond that, if it's not interesting, I'm probably going to close it and move on. From a personal standpoint, I think I want to like you. I want to be able to work with you every day. I like nice people. So, you know, you have to be easy to work with, pleasant, I think at the very least. You know? Yeah. What do you got?
So can I follow that up? Actually,
of
so
course.
let's say it's me. Let's say I want to work for you. You don't know me. And all I have to show you is what's on my website. And I email you, I make myself available to you. I show you my portfolio or whatever. Are you going to, you know, first just look at my demo reel? And like you said, in those first 15 seconds, if I hook you, are you then going to go deeper into my website and look at specific examples and see what specifically I did on those different projects? And like, basically, how can I market myself to you before we've even met?
All right. Hey, I want to jump in here. Is that okay?
Please do.
You can phone a friend, Greg. You can say, hey, yo, dude, I need some help. I need some help. Okay. So, Alex, to answer your question, in order for us to even consider you, you must be on our radar in the first place.
That's Jake.
Jake.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jake. I'm sorry. I messed up there.
It's all right.
Jake, in order for us to consider you, you have to be on our radar, right? So generally speaking, what happens is you guys will submit your reel to me, our HR person, which is John, or to one of the creative directors, and it has to catch our eye enough so that we'll save the information. And you have to remember that we're busy in our day, and so if it's not amazing, it's forgettable. We're not even take the effort to copy and paste your information into a database. So now let's say it's eye-catching, but it's confusing to us, like what it is that you do. And then we're like, well, which category do I put Jake into? Which category do I put him into? Do I put him into the character animation category, the compositing person? And if I don't know, I might place you in the wrong category. And that's going to be a detriment to you because you either not get hired or you get hired for the wrong job. So I've said this before, you need to be very clear in stating what it is that you do and then show me what it is that you do. If those two things are in alignment and you make it like I don't have to think, that it improves your odds of me grabbing your work and transferring it to the next stage. So you survive the filter. So that when Greg, Matthew, or anybody else in the company needs a fill in the blank. And well, how would you describe what you do, Jake?
I would just say that I'm a generalist motion designer. I can do a little bit of everything. So that is
2D
one reason why I asked the
3D?
question. 2D.
Okay, so you're a 2D
yes,
motion.
Yes.
You're an animator, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're a 2D motion animator. That is excellent. So then it's going to get put into a bucket so that when Greg and Matthew are looking for somebody, they're going to look under that bucket mostly, and they're not going to look under storyboarding or anything else. They're just going to look in there and like, oh, I think I found the person. They're going to reach out. So you have to kind of go through a series of filters in order for you to even be called in the first place. So the best thing that you can do is when you send your work out, just be very clear. I do this and get right to it. Greg says you have 15 seconds to get his attention, otherwise he's going to delete it. So if you can't survive that, you're going to sit there and wonder why nobody's calling you. Why aren't I ever getting any inquiries for new business? And I'll hand it back to the boys. You guys want to add anything to this?
I have a follow-up unless you want to complete your
go for it. Yeah.
Okay. So my thought on this, Jake, to get back to you about marketing yourself, I think it's also being on the pulse of some of who you're trying to get the attention of. So for instance, like I'm pretty active on my social platforms, especially when it comes to LinkedIn. Like I'm constantly putting out work or requesting work. Like, oh, I need a C4D animator, or hey, I'm looking for somebody to design something that looks like this. Or I'll post some of my recent work out there. It's like, oh, I just did this cool thing for Xbox. What's great is then the smartest people I know, they're on the pulse of that. They're following me on there. They'll follow up and say like, hey, I just finished this cool particle animation project that seems similar to like the Xbox stuff you guys do. Here, check this out. I think in the future, if you guys do more work like that, I can help you out there. And here's my specialties. And I've had several people reach out to me for that project in particular, because I was pretty vocal about that at the beginning of last year. And I had a few people hit me up. So it's showing work that was very similar. And, you know, I've kept in contact with them and have used them as freelancers since then. So just also paying attention to people who are putting stuff out there and trying to anticipate and just be on the pulse of what they might be looking for constantly.
Okay, so I'm looking at Jake's question here inside of Google Docs, and he's saying, well, if I want to be a 2D animator, what should I show? Demo reel, project breakdown, whatever. I think for me, guys, I'm going to say demo reel. You just need to show me a good demo reel of 2D animation. That's it. If I'm interested in more, I'll ask for more, but it doesn't take a lot. So I'm thinking about a minute-long demo reel, a variety of different projects that you've worked on that shows the creative breadth of your work. That's really all it needs. Anything else?
No, that's it. A good-looking reel.
Good-looking reel.
15, 30
Beautiful.
seconds.
That's it. And
I got a
like
question.
Sorry, a project breakdown would be required if you're a compositing artist, because sometimes you can't tell what's going on. Like, what do they do? It looks so real. And then you show the breakdown. What is that called?
Expository.
Expository. You would show an expository, and then that way I'm like, oh, I see. You added so much artistry to this, and that's why the shot looks as good as it does, is because of what you've done. All right, you have follow-up questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, I got a question actually, because so whenever I've heard it a lot said that when you want to put down like your contact information, what you do at the very end of your demo reel, but y'all are saying the first 10 or 15 seconds, should we be saying, this is my name, this is my demo reel year or whatever time frame, and then saying, this is what I'm going to do throughout this demo?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. So I would start off with like a 2-second slate or 3-second slate at the longest. Put your name and just say what you do, and that's it. That doesn't even have to be all that fancy. Just don't make it ugly. So some people are good animators are not very good designers, and that's okay. So this is where you need to resist the urge of using some tricky typeface like Papyrus or Comic Sans. Set it in Helvetica bold, upper lowercase. Use 2 point sizes at the max, and that's all you need to do is center that baby, and you're good to go. Okay? Just make it super simple. When you try too hard, that's when I'm like, oh, this person has really bad taste. That's it.
I
I'll
have
put it
a
right at the beginning.
question to that.
Go ahead.
Sorry, off script a little bit, but as far
How
as
dare
like,
Go off script. There's
For,
no
like-
script. It's an unscripted show. It's called raw, baby. Let's go
questions,
raw.
off questions.
Okay, go ahead.
No, if you do a particular type of other work than just animation or something, like it makes sense to me to do a demo reel if you're an animator. If you are a designer or an illustrator and do stills, or maybe you're a UX designer and you're doing apps and stuff, like, I mean, I figure nice, big, pretty images is the way to go, but is there anything else you suggest for those other types of, mixing in motion designers?
Yes. Okay. Since this is School of Motion, we're now going to dabble into the UX space, okay? We're going to keep this really focused today. So if you're a motion designer, you would just show a sequence of style frames or storyboards that you produce that are super glossy and lush and are beautiful and immaculate in terms of its creation. That's all you need. Now, this is where the danger is. A lot of people who do design work in the motion space feel compelled, and they're, I think, urged to do this by instructors, wrongly so, to produce an animated reel. Now I have to make this decision. Are you an animator or are you a designer? And generally speaking, if you're a designer and you do an animated reel, you kind of suck. Generally speaking, okay? A New Year's resolution, be much kinder. I'm off to a good start. But generally, you're kind of bad, and I look at the work, I'm like, oh, this is terrible. And I didn't even go that deep. I didn't go that deep because I'm looking at work nonstop, right? And I don't have time to wait, so I got to go through this. So give yourself the best shot. Just put the thing that is that you want to be hired for up front and be proud, and don't worry about padding with a lot of other stuff. And I just want to see the work. At this stage, I don't want to see a whole lot of process, especially if the work isn't that good. There's no way I'm going to look at the process either.
Yeah.
Greg and Matthew, you want to add anything, change anything?
No.
No, that's
Okay.
that's it. It's really about the work.
Greg, you can't always say that. It cannot be. Go back to reading YouTube, Facebook comments then. All right, we're all good. He's all, it's just the work.
What you say, Chris? Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So I've got a kind of a little different spin on that same question. Let's say, I'm a freelance motion designer, so I'm working with lots of different types of clients all the time. But let's say I'm not necessarily looking to get hired by an agency or somebody who, like you, who are working with teams. Maybe I'm just trying to find a single gig where I'm handling all or a lot of the production process. Should I be marketing myself to those types of clients differently?
This is where I'm going to turn the cricket sound effect on. I wasn't sure what you just asked there. I started spacing out on this.
I think he's asking it because from the perspective
Yeah.
of a small business. I think we went over this a couple of years ago regarding are you a freelancer or are you a small business? And I think the last thing you had just mentioned is how do you market yourself as a small business where you're taking the production from end to end versus
Right.
working under the umbrella of a
Oh.
studio or an agency.
Exactly.
Okay, now you want to go client direct?
Got it.
You
Exactly.
want to do end-to-end production. Okay, now I understand it. That was a hard shift from our previous questions, which is how do I get hired as a freelancer, okay?
Yeah,
So
I guess
that's when
that
we
is slightly
need-
different.
We need a little ginger to cleanse the palate if you're going to go and change it that much. You're like, oh, I didn't have another piece of sushi for you. You're like, well, what is this? It's a steak. Oh, okay, that's why I was thrown up. So how do you market yourself to clients if you want to do end-to-end service? That would be a little bit different. I think you would probably cut together a montage reel of some of your best projects, and then I guess you would send it over to the marketing department. This is a little tricky, Matt, because we don't actually work like that, do we?
No, we don't. I mean, that's how we position ourselves as as a company. So you would be, as soon as you jump into those waters, you're competing with us, right? So you got to think about, you could reverse engineer some of your favorite studios and agencies, even like the smaller ones, like the two-man shops. How do they present themselves, and probably work backwards from there. And I think, okay, outside of the montage of really good work, what is it that you do so that I understand? Because you say end-to-end production, but does that mean, do you do the script writing? Do you shoot live action? Do you do the compositing? Are you going to hire the actors and all the live action production? Are you going to just do 2D animation? Do you do 3D animation? It's like now you have to answer all of these very, very big questions that you just have to build up in iterations. And if you look at how we do it as a studio, we have our reel, we have landing pages on our website that kind of bring you in top level of some of the things that we do. And then if a client is interested enough there, they'll either dig deeper on our website to see specific projects and our case studies, so what we did specifically for clients, or they'll follow up with a contact email, and then we send them some kind of capabilities deck or something that is a breakdown of our services. So it's very big, and it's something that it's taken us a while to do, and we're just speaking from the position of a pretty big company. Again, like I think if you look at some two-man shops or one-man shops, it might be good to reverse engineer them and then see what they do and see the ones that are successful.
Yeah.
If the ones that are successful really specialize in something, I think it's Timber. Is it Timber? They just do food motion design, right? They own the food space.
No, that's
Who is that?
They do all the Sonic stuff.
Yeah. Starts with a T. I think you're right.
It's not Timber.
It's not
Well,
Timber.
I know somebody has a computer and they could look it up,
Oh, if only.
right?
If only we had some kind of thing.
If
that
only
connected us
somebody
to the
could
rest of the world.
have fingers that could type, we would figure this thing out.
Yeah.
But what he does is he just does food graphics, like mostly for fast food, I think. And they do really well. So the idea of specialization, being clear about what you do, is going to help you in the market space, because the world is full of information and it's hard for us to make sense of that. And so I would still say that's really important. And what Matthew said, and I just want to reiterate for you guys, is now instead of just showing your reel, you're going to talk about your process, what you do, and you're going to try and explain that, because assuming you're going to speak to a client, they don't necessarily understand and speak the language of motion. They speak the language of business or marketing. So this is where you can't make assumptions that because you show a demo reel with live action and compositing and 3D and visual effects, that they understand that you're doing any of this. So you want to break it down. You want to do an in-depth case study and break the project down. So I think that's really where you're going with your question before, right, Jake?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, we'll get to the name of this company because we're not that.
I'm looking at it.
Matthew, we were going to hire that guy at one point before he started his company. Don't you remember his name?
It-
You see how connected to the motion industry we are? Cut to my screen, full screen. This is what we got here, guys. You see this? This is my pulse, and this is us having our finger on the pulse of motion design. And that's totally not true at all.
Totally
We're terrible at this. Okay, let's
We're
keep
gonna-
going.
We'll remember after the
We'll
stream.
remember.
After this stream.
If you're watching this show, buddy, let us know and just type in the name of your company, because we know who you are.
It's Wood Shop.
Wood shop. There it
Wood
is,
shop. I was so close. Timber and wood shop. You
Timber,
see?
wood shop.
Yeah,
wood-
it sounds
Wood
There
shop.
you go.
Yeah, there
There's
you go.
something wood.
Yeah. So look them up, look how they're doing it, and see how they're able to survive in a very competitive market space. All right, let's move on. Can we get to the next follow-up question or the next question?
Is that me?
I don't know. Who is it?
I
Yeah,
think
go
that's
ahead.
the one I put down there. Go ahead, Dorka.
Yeah, I can. Should I? Is it been my turn? I'll go.
Yeah.
All right, good. I got the thumbs up. Yeah.
Okay.
So my question is more on workplace expectations, and it's more about. It feels to me that there's like almost like two sides to this thing. So it's either you have clients that manage their projects really well and they manage their time really well and they don't really want to pay too much overtime. You sometimes have to stay, but not as often. And then you have another school of thought, which is you're a freelancer. Your day means way more than 8 hours. You should be here all the time at our beck and call. And so how do you know when that's like gone over the line? How do you have that conversation with a client? Because you obviously, as a freelancer, deadlines are going to happen and you're going to have to stay. But then there's times where it feels like it's way too much. It's like, okay, now, like, I need to go home. So how do you have those conversations, or when do you think it crosses the line?
Okay.
I
can handle this one. This is a basic law of communication, that we share an understanding with each other what our expectations are. I expect you to come into work at a certain time and stay here to a certain time. And in turn, you expect me, when you're done with the work, that when you send me an invoice, I pay you promptly within a certain period of time. This is all things that you just discuss and talk about before you take the booking. So when somebody books you, you can ask them, what are your hours of work? Right? Typically, I work an 8 to 10 hour day, and that's acceptable to me. Anything beyond that is not okay with me, and I would ask you for overtime pay. Is that congruent with what you're thinking?
Okay.
And
because even sometimes when I do ask, or when it is asked ahead of time, you still get the expectation of being there.
Okay, that's fine. So let's continue on this dialogue. Okay, you and I, we're split screen. You can't see me speaking to you, but I'm speaking to you on the TV, even though you're looking at me in the corner.
Oh my God, the magic of TV.
It is. You'll see it later, and it'll be like, oh my God, it looked like we were in the same room talking to each other.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Okay, it's great. All right. So let's you and I talk, okay? And I'll be the person that's going to book you. And I'll just be a real person. I'll just be me. And I'm negotiating with you or talking to you about the gig. Let me see how you normally do this, okay?
How do I normally do it?
No, yeah, we're going to just act like normal. So I want to see how you normally have this conversation. And then we'll see where there's areas for improvement. So everybody that's a freelancer and then you're looking to get booked and you've been burned a couple of times, this is the moment where you want to tune in and to take some notes. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay.
I usually it's over email, but I would say something like, usually they'll ask me for my rate, and I usually say my rate is X, and this is for.
What is your rate? Make up a rate. Let's have a real conversation. Make up a rate. I don't care if it's true or not. Nobody knows if it's true.
All right. I'll say $450 a day, and then.
See, it didn't matter what you're gonna say. I was gonna have the reaction. See, what a jerk. $450. Okay.
Then fine. Then I'm $1,000 a day.
Dang.
And like then, but if you were gonna have the reaction, I may as well just go for it, right?
Yeah,
so
we're fine. We're just fine. $450. Okay, like all right, don't miss $450.
And then and then I would put on the email as well for 8 to 10 hours of work and overtime after that.
Monday to Friday, right? Monday to Friday, 8 to 10 hours of work, or you can
see. I didn't even say that.
Well, why not?
Didn't even put that
this is why we're gonna take notes here, because when I call you on Saturday and you don't want to be there. Because you got a hot date or something like that, and then you're like, no, I don't work on Saturdays. If you want me to come in on Saturday, it's going to cost you this. Or you could be one of those really young, aggressive, like you need to make money and you're going to just retire early and it doesn't matter Saturday, Sunday. It's all cool. You want to work as much as possible, maybe because you love the place or you love the project. That's okay too. And it doesn't have to be the same terms for every company. What I would suggest is you go 8 to 10 hours, Monday through Friday. If you get in there, you love the project, the people, and the culture, and it feels like your deadline's coming up and you're not making as much progress as you need to, or they just got some new changes, you can tell your producer, it's like, hey, I realize more work is coming in. Normally I don't do this, but just for you because I like you guys. I'm willing to work 1 of the 2 days on the weekend. I just need to know ahead of time. Yeah. And if you want to make more money, and if they need it, I wouldn't suggest it. If you want to make more money, then you can say, hey, look, it's time and a half. So instead of paying me $450, it's $450 times 1.5.
It's usually the client
$675
coming up to us. Yeah,
right.
It's usually the client coming up to us.
But I want to have those expectations ahead of time. So when you bring the conflict up front, it minimizes the awkwardness on the back end. You see? So when we're clear about money, terms of payment, hours of work, and weekend hours are on or off, whatever it is, when it comes up again, you won't feel like pressure to say yes. You'll say, I hear you. You remember we had this in writing? Just want to point back to that. In writing is an important part because two people have a conversation, and you and I right now, because nothing's in writing, can walk away with a different interpretation of what we just agreed to. Happens all the time, right? That's why guys walk away and say, she's in love with me, and the girl's like, what a creep. We have two different reads on what went down. Okay, that's why I always walk away. She loves me. It's totally true. And she's like, what a jerk.
And she's just nothing into you.
What a jerk. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so when they push, if you have it in writing, you can just very politely say, oh, okay, I'm glad you're bringing this up because that's why I asked this up front. And if you want me to work extra hours, we need to kind of revisit this dialogue, okay? Okay, someone had a follow-up. I heard it, so.
Yeah. So, all right, just for a dialogue there. I'm the client. You're the freelancer right now, Chris. And I just come up and I'm like, we need you to stay 3 extra hours. What is your actual response? It's not like we talk like all we just talked about was setting up beforehand, but now it's time to have a response.
I know, because he's playing real life. This is a game of real life right now, right? He's like, hey, I know what it looks like in the textbook, buddy, but in real life, people don't behave that way. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of the time it's not, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah.
This is called real life. Okay. This is what's going to happen. I'm getting ready to get out. It's like 8 o'clock. I'm ready to book, right? I'm ready to leave. And then all
Chris,
of a sudden,
we have to finish.
What's that?
Well, we have to finish. We have a deadline tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. You know what, Ryan? I already made plans. I got to get home. My wife is going to have my head if I don't get home. Now,
well, I don't think that's going to work.
Okay, that's why we had this whole discussion, right? We had this whole discussion ahead of time, Ryan. I plan my schedule. If you tell me to be here at a certain time to a certain time, I'm good. You can count on me for that. I gave you the best 8 or 9 hours in a day. I wasn't on Facebook like everybody else. I didn't do Twitter. I gave you the best I could in this day. I was super productive. I even had a short lunch because it's so tight. If you want me to stay, I need to call my wife and make sure it's okay with her. And I need to charge you extra for the 3 hours. Are you okay with that, Ryan?
I don't know.
What happened, Ryan?
Oh, I lost them. I lost everybody.
Uh-oh.
You're back.
Yeah, you too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
You guys are all back. Okay. So, Ryan.
All right.
I don't know
So
if
you
heard
had to
that
call
last
your
part.
wife.
Yeah, I'm going to call my wife. And then I'm gonna ask her if it's okay, if we can make other plans. But if you want me to work those extra 3 hours, I have to charge you for those 3 hours. Are you okay with that?
Well, we definitely don't want to lose any more money, so I guess you can go home.
Okay, perfect. I'll see you tomorrow, man. Okay, we'll get right back on it. I understand the urgency. I'm really super focused. I'm doing everything I can to deliver this as quickly as I can. All right? Thanks, Ryan.
See you tomorrow.
So what did I do then? What did I do? Ryan doesn't know if I'm married. He doesn't know if I have a plan. He doesn't know anything. And I can say that because it just takes the pressure off of me saying no. So why do I say this? Why do I tell you to do it this way? Because a lot of creative types don't like confrontation. They don't want to be the bad guy. We're people pleasers. We want to make everybody happy, even in spite of our own happiness. We respect other people's time more than we respect our own time. So this is where I say, you know what? I'm sorry I have plans. I don't want to cancel on my friends or my family. If I had known this in advance, I could have arranged differently. But that's why I asked you what hours you expect me, and you said, this is it. So I just want to hold you to what we agreed to. That sounds kind of fair, doesn't it? Now, some producers will go ape on you. Somebody want to play that role? Who's seen that person? It's like they're unreasonable. They're like subhuman.
I mean, I can tell you right now that I had that happen.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Split screen us. Let's go. All right. So I'm gonna pick it up. Okay.
I have to think of the words that they use.
Well, no. Let's get all emotional and raw. This is real, man. Okay. You ready? I don't have my raw hat on. I have my future hat on today, but it's still the raw show, right? So.
Sure,
all right.
why not?
So, I got to run. I have plans. I've given you everything I can. If you want me to stay later, I got to check. And I'm not saying I can, but I need to charge you extra. Are you okay with that? Okay?
I am perfectly okay with that. What it is that this thing needs to go out tomorrow. It needs to be seen by the president of the company and needs to be done in a couple hours. He's going to be here. So I'm going to need you unfortunately stay.
Okay, so you're okay with paying me more?
I'm okay with paying you more. It's not a
Okay, so
problem.
let me just double check. I think I can move some things around. Okay, so as long as
All
we
right,
can do that,
well-
then I'm okay. How long do you think I need to
Great.
stay here for? Another 3 hours?
Another 3, maybe 4. I mean, it really, I'm not sure because we may have some feedback after this.
Okay,
That you may
so
need
here's
to
what I'm
fix.
willing to do with you, Dorka. If I can move my plans, if you pay me extra for this, but there is a point in which you're going to get diminishing return on me and I'm just going to be super exhausted and it's going to cost you even more. So let's say I work to midnight at my normal rate, okay? And I'll just bill you hourly for that time. But after midnight, I got to get into double time because this is bananas, right? Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try
That
and
is
focus and we can get this done in the next 3 hours and we don't have to cross that bridge.
Let's do that until midnight and then we'll talk about it. But I'm perfectly fine with paying you double
Perfect.
if I have to.
See?
I mean, this is something that we'll have to
Yeah.
get out in time. And I perfectly understand and I appreciate you staying.
All
But
right.
we're on the deadline here.
Cool, let's do this. If you could actually see me, I'd high five you and there. Go ahead, reach your hand out. Reach out your hand towards the camera.
But
Reach your hand out towards camera. Just do it. No, towards that. We just did it.
But
YouTube and
to be
Facebook knows
perfectly
what I'm talking
honest,
about.
that is a situation that
I know.
I've been in several times, and
I know. I've been in that situation myself.
Yeah,
I have.
and this is the reason why, like, I brought up the question because I feel this is a situation that maybe other people are dealing with, where you get to the point where it's like, well, how do I not exhaust myself or burn myself out? You know,
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, sometimes it could be a day, but sometimes it can be weeks
It can be.
of it.
Now,
Yeah.
how do I even know to talk about this kind of stuff? Because there was a point in my life, believe it or not, where I was actually a freelancer and I worked for people who worked me to the bone. And I think I was like 22, 23 years old or something like that. And I didn't care. I was just working. I didn't know any of the things that I am telling you to do today. So I'm giving you 22 years of experience on how to navigate this so this does not become a problem. When you're working for a studio and when you're reporting to somebody that you've looked up to for a lot of your life, it's really hard to say no to that person on the spot. So if you set the expectations up clearly beforehand and you outline what's okay and what's not okay, we call those boundaries. And when you go outside those bounds, you can just point back to, you remember that agreement when we all thought this was going to be an easy job? I'm going to stick to that if that's okay. If you don't have this point, you have no boundary, that means the clients can push you all the way as far as you want. And more likely than not, you're going to break before they will. They'll say, like, hey, I need you to stay to do this. You're like, oh, shoot. And then 11 o'clock rolls around. It's like, no. We need to do this renders and it still doesn't look right. I need you to keep working on this. 3 o'clock rolls around. 3 a.m., I mean. And you're still working on it. And in your mind, you're thinking, I only got paid for an 8-hour day. How am I going to bring this up? This is going to get really awkward. And then you tell yourself, oh, well, I'll just eat it. Tomorrow will be a different day. You go home, you come back to work, and guess what? It's another day to 5 in the morning. And you just eat it again. So learn from the mistakes I made when I was a 22-year-old punk.
Hey Chris, we got some feedback from online. Actually, it's for Dorka.
Dorka, all right.
Yeah.
This is for Dorka. Like, I thought you were gonna be meaner, because you were saying unreasonable people. Because you said okay.
It's true.
As soon as
I pulled back.
Chris,
I pulled back.
No, you shouldn't though. I think the
Don't hold back.
whole point is just like really putting Chris under the pressure, or whoever is doing the role play under the pressure to the real world thing. Because I think you gave in very, very easily.
You did.
And I was expecting you to push back pretty hard. Like,
Matthew, can I say something?
yeah,
It's totally true.
yeah,
Because she was looking right into my eyes and she just said, yes, whatever you want.
right. You're too charming. You're too charming. That's
I'm
why,
killing it with the charm, you guys. I just am.
Guess what?
Yes?
People have looked into my eyes and said, yes, whatever you want. So
Well, use it both ways.
I have, yeah. I
You
mean,
know? Look,
hey.
hey, when you got it, you got it. What can I say? No, let me be serious for a second here. If you say things from the point of view that I'm calm, there's no emotion here, and I smile when I say it, and it's like, is it okay? And these are reasonable things, right? I made plans with my wife. I don't know if I can cancel, but I want to. I will try. But it's reasonable to ask you for more money if we go beyond this point, right? I don't go in like huffing and puffing, which a lot of creatives do. Start like, and they get all worked up into a frenzy. That's totally unreasonable. I can't, will you pay me more money or what? Yeah. Oh, okay. You see, they build themselves up to a frenzy, and it doesn't help the situation at all. Talk like a real human being. Be transparent about what you're thinking and feeling. Try to reach them at least halfway. Most people that are reasonable will go along with you. Now, Matthew will play the beast.
You want me to play the unreasonable manager?
You can play the unreasonable a-hole.
Just
Do you have experience? No. I know.
Yeah.
Greg can play the beast.
Oh, okay.
I know he knows a couple of beasts. I want you to think about that beast.
It's
in
hard
your
for
past.
me to do that.
Yeah, it is. Matthew's the nicest guy. They'll be like, oh, Matthew was a rollover too. He's like super easy guy. Come on.
Teach me the way.
That's right. Greg, do you know who you're thinking about?
Let me tap into some.
I won't tell you what his name rhymes with, but hat. No, I won't even say it.
So who's who? So Greg is the unreasonable.
Am I being unreasonable?
Yeah.
producer?
Okay, so it's like 8 o'clock, right? It's time to wrap up. Normally we close at 7, so 8 o'clock I'm already giving you an hour more. I'm getting ready to get out of here. Go ahead, drop it on me, meanie.
Chris, it looks like you're leaving, man. Where are you going?
I'm going home. I have plans, Greg. What's up?
Look at my watch. I'm like,
It's 8 o'clock.
yeah. We have a lot of work to do. Come on, man.
We do, I know. I'm looking forward to doing the work tomorrow.
So why are you leaving us? Like, look around. Everyone else is here. Everyone else is staying. Where are you going?
Hey, Greg, can we talk to the side?
Okay.
Right, I do notice everybody else is around. But when you booked me, we talked about this before. That'll work to 7 o'clock. But I'm here till 8. I'm thinking I'm doing a solid by you. Are you going back on our agreement?
No, but you know how it goes at some of these projects. It just
know,
get
I
crazy. You can't foresee stuff. And
I know,
these guys are staying late nights. If you don't, it feels like you're not part of the team here. What's going on, Chris?
I don't know. I wish you wouldn't kind of judge me or characterize it like that, because I worked an extra hour than what we agreed to. Isn't that true?
Yeah, but everyone's working till at least 10 or 11.
I know.
Come on.
Well, I can't say about their productivity. All I can say is if you want to look at my work and review it with me tomorrow, I've given you a solid 9-hour day for an 8-hour quote. If you want me to stay longer, I can possibly. Again, I have to check with some people, but I'm going to charge you more to do that. Are you okay with that?
I don't know. We are tight on this budget. We're I don't think we have any more money to pay you. Like I got the rest of the team. They're putting in the time. They're not worried about it. We just want to get this done. We really need your help.
Okay, that's cool. Does it sound fair to you to agree to something ahead of time and through circumstances that I'm not in control of, how I manage or how I bid this project, how I estimate? I didn't do any of that. That is not something that is my mistake, but yet you want me to pay for it. Is that right?
Chris, I think we're all in this together. We got to work like a team and just really kind of tackle it head on. And if you want to be part of the team, I think it's important that you stick around.
And let me ask you a question, Greg. Do you like the work that I'm doing?
You're great. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
I'm glad you can agree to that. I am a part of the team. I'm doing the work. I am. If you want more than that, I'm happy to give it to you, but not at the cost of my own time. I'm not willing to do that. If you want to work for free for your time and everybody else here wants to work for free on their time, that is cool, but I do have plans, sir.
I don't know what to say now. You called me sir, and I'm like, what?
I'm taking notes for the meanness.
Okay. I don't want your problem to be my problem, and I'm just going to keep asking you, is what you're doing fair? And of course, Greg has played the role perfectly, because we both know exactly who he's talking about, the kind of workplaces he's been at before. And these are the tactics that they use. They call you out, they undermine you, and it's all a lot of negging, like making negative comments about the decisions that you're making. So I'm going to kind of bring him back to what I did and did not do. I stand firmly on the ground that I gave you a solid amount of time and work, and the work product was good for what you booked me for. But it's really not my problem. I didn't say it like that, but I'm not in control of those factors, and I shouldn't pay for them. I shouldn't have to pay the consequences of somebody else's decision making. That's not my fault. And if this is a culture where everybody works like, that's cool. You're entitled to your culture. I just don't want to participate in that. Now, I'm saying this as a 40-plus-year-old man, but when I was a 22-year-old, I'm like, let's do it, Greg. Let's rock and roll, baby. Let's do it. And I was stupid. I'm just going to admit it. I was stupid. Because I let my eagerness to please my boss, the coolness of the project, and the feeling that I'm just being a bastard if I walk out on everybody, drive my decision making. This is all fear-based. I don't work in that space anymore. I haven't in a long time. Next question. Let's move on.
Okay, I have one.
You guys having fun?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah. I like the role-playing negging, not the real
Yeah.
negging.
Okay.
Okay, but more awkward workplace conversations and stuff. So let's say that you have a boss, and so, I mean, they're your boss, and they're investing in you. And this is either like, they either want to see you like climb the ladder, or they want to push you to just be generally more proactive, or maybe they want to see you try out a kind of work or something else. I don't know. They just want to push you and encourage you down a certain path. And that's super nice and really awesome that someone believes in you like that, but you don't necessarily want to go down that path or do those things. So how do you, keep their respect, their confidence, keep everything positive and great, but just not go down that road with them?
Ooh, this is a loaded question, man. So Alex, assuming you're in a staff position, right? This is a staff position kind of question. Most people don't care whether freelancers grow or not. They're not going to invest time and energy into seeing you grow, right?
I've actually had both, but
Really?
yes, mostly staff.
What
Okay.
about me, Chris? I'm a freelancer.
Well, you're practically staff too, okay? Hold on. It's not, okay, Erica, you get your turn. All right. Cool your jets, girl. All right, one woman at a time, okay? This is kind of a monogamous conversation here. Okay, so you're assuming you're staff and they want you to grow, but you're not interested in growing. That's kind of an odd thing to say, isn't it?
Okay, so
Why don't you want to grow?
specifically talking about a staff position,
Yes.
terms like climbing the ladder or being just proactive, in general. That one's a hard one. Yes, this is a very loaded
I think
question.
those are two different questions: proactive and climbing the ladder. So I have one answer to the climbing the ladder thing. So climbing the ladder, I think one thing that you are kind of inundated to believe as you're going through school is like, okay, first you're a designer, then you're a senior designer, then you're an art director, and then you become a creative director, right? Like that's the ladder that they put in front of you. But the thing is, like, that's not for everyone. And it's a very completely different skill set from being a designer to an animator to a creative director, where it's all about management. And I think the key thing is being very open and honest about having periodical conversations with your employer about what your goals are, being very transparent and making sure that you're only sticking around at a place long enough where your goals are aligned with the company's. As soon as there's misalignment, it's time for you to go. It's really time for you to go. If you're at that point where you're like, the way the company is moving or the direction the company's moving does not align with what I want to do in the future, you should be looking at places where you can grow or going off on your own. So I think. But
then,
okay, go ahead.
What if your boss takes that news or that thought process badly? That like your goals are no longer aligned. At one point they were, but now they're not, and
Right.
Your manager or boss responds poorly to that.
Right. I think it's just dependent on how, obviously, we're pretty spoiled here with a nice open culture here at Blind and at the Future. And I'm sure it's different at other places. But I think being very honest and transparent with people respect that and just be like, hey, full transparency. I came here and I was looking for this. You have been amazing towards me. You've nurtured these skills. I've been able to work on these very cool projects. And as I'm growing, as I'm maturing, as you have in your own life, experiences change you. Your tastes change, your likes change, the relationships you're in change, and all of those things can change. And I'm kind of going through that growth right now. I came here as an inexperienced designer and I'm maturing to figure out what I really want. And what I'm finding out about myself is these things. I want to learn more of this, and this. And not to say that I can't grow here anymore, but it feels like this is what I'm very passionate about. I'd like for our futures to be aligned. Is this something that you could nurture in me? Because this is where I want to go. If it's not, then it's something that maybe we should start talking about and seeing. Because I don't know how much longer it makes sense for me to be here. And you have to take that risk, honestly. Like if you're very unhappy in a position or a relationship or work or anything, it's like you just have to be honest about that, and then just start planting the seeds of what's possible, whether that has to be somewhere else or if that's something that can happen internally in your company.
Awesome.
Is that good? Are you guys good?
Yeah.
All right. Erica,
No,
you get to ask your
really
question now.
What?
What? Hey, somebody turned off my hair light, and I have a lot of hair to light, so I don't know what happened here. Can we get Aaron back in the show? Okay, it got really dark in the background. It's like, for Erica's question, I'm going to go Darth Vader style, Kylo Ren. Go ahead, Erica, what did you want to say?
I don't have a question. You were just talking about the freelancer thing.
I thought you jumped in there on top of Alex's question.
Yeah.
Are you pulling a Molly?
Maybe.
All right, that's cool.
I've been hanging around her too often.
All right, who's got another question? What else are we talking about, guys?
I got a question.
Okay, go ahead. Is that Ryan?
All right. Yeah.
Okay, fire away, man.
All right. So I specifically work in-house and doing post-production, and I'm not always doing motion design, but that's why I got hired on to do motion design. And so I do freelance gigs on the side. And while I'm here, I want to start to build up like my hard and like soft skills. Basically, what should I be focusing on so that if I do decide to move to like my own like full-time freelance, or if I want to be able to hire other people out from underneath me and stuff like that, what should I be focusing on?
Okay, I'm writing this down. Your full-time
so hard
freelance.
and soft skills.
Okay. So, you guys, I noticed a pattern here in the way you guys structured your questions. You give a lot of story, and I'm trying to remember all this story, and then my brain starts to fill up. And then you ask the question, and I'm like, what are we talking about again? So I would suggest that you guys just start with a question and no backstory, and then let me talk to you about the backstory and get some more information, because my mind, I'm really trying to focus on every single word that you say, and at a certain point, it just hits 100%, and I'm like, oh, I'm done, and no question yet. Okay, and one question at a time, no compounded questions. So let's do that again. Ryan, fire away again.
I'm in-house and I want to learn how to work on my soft and hard skills. What should I be focusing on?
Okay. Now, for everybody that's tuning in, especially if you're from another country, you may or may not know what soft and hard skills are. For clarification, can you provide what some examples are of soft skills and hard skills?
Yeah, so soft skills are more like being able to talk with people, being able to maybe run a meeting,
management,
and then management, and communicate, basically communication for the most part. And then the hard skills are like technical, which I'm more of a technical person where I know the ins and outs of the programs, but when it comes to people and being able to what to know to take down in meetings and stuff like that, it kind of gets a little foggier.
Right. Okay. So most everybody that is tuning into this show, they're working on acquiring more technical skills, the hard skills, like how to do something in Photoshop, how to do something in After Effects, how to make something explode, the tricks and tips, if you will, or formulas. And you can learn a lot of these things online. Luckily, we live in the information age, so a lot of this is just something you just type in and you can find. Great. So Ryan's got a great question. It's like, I do want to climb the ladder. I do want to grow. I want to develop more skills. So how do I, as a person who's pretty good at these technical stuff, how do I acquire these other skills like communication, management, negotiation, sales, leadership skills, basically? How do I acquire that? So I'm going to throw it right back at you. I'm going to ask you, how do you think you acquire it? And now he's going to choke. There's a hard swallow.
Gulp.
Okay.
So I would, if I was trying to answer my own question, it's practice. You have to put yourself in the fray, I guess, if you would have to say that. The only thing I can ever really come up with in my mind is if I want to get better at, pitching an idea or something like that, I would go to the meeting, whether I'm leading it or not. That's about as far as I can go right now.
Okay. I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you because you're smarter than you give yourself credit for in the moment. You're in the lights, you're live on a show, and you're like, woo, the sweat's starting to go down your back and your head here, okay? When you need to acquire a new skill in After Effects that you don't know how to do something, would your answer and your advice to yourself be to practice it?
No,
Right.
not at all.
So what would you do in acquiring a hard skill? What would you do first?
First of all, I would look up a tutorial.
Okay. And before you look up a tutorial, how do you know what to look for?
A ton of wrong Google searches.
That's right. So what you do, and usually the first thing you do, we just like, it's kind of appropriate that I'm in the dark now. Is like, you just punch in the dark. You're like, I'm looking for leadership, SCOP, communication management. And then sooner or later, something starts to bubble up and you're like, oh, this is the term that people are referring to when they talk about this. You might find some books or some ideas on management, about communication, sales, leadership, all those kinds of things. You might watch a few TED Talks. So now you're a little bit more informed, and so you can formulate your question a little bit better. Now you know what to ask for. And it's very important, guys. I know this sounds crazy. In order to solve a problem, you kind of have to know what the answer looks like. Otherwise, you're asking the wrong question. You're going down the wrong path. Okay? So oftentimes I'll say to my clients, I know other designers will tell me where the bullseye is. I'm not going to ask you that. I'm just going to say to you, what wall is the bullseye on? I need to be oriented in the right direction. Is it north, east, south? Okay, now that I know, I can use my process to eliminate a lot of things and figure out how to get there. Okay. So now you can look for informed answers now, tutorials, videos, white papers, whatever it is. You can call people like, Johnny, I need to do this one effect. Now that you know what it's called. Then Johnny's like, oh, I don't know the answer, but I saw a video. Now you can start whittling down until you get to the answer. Then I assume then, Ryan, you watch the video or you read the paper. Then what you want to do is to apply what you learned. This is a critical step. Most people learn things and they don't know how to apply them. So the information is kind of worthless. This is where you practice. You're like, oh, yeah. It made it look so easy on the video, but I didn't apply it. Now that I'm doing it, I forgot critical steps. Or my file isn't exactly the same, so I need to make some tweaks here. Now you know how to do something. Okay? So now let's flip it and reverse it. Let's talk about a soft skill that you want to learn. Let's say you want to learn about how to hold a meeting or how to delegate work or how to manage people, what motivates people. That might lead you to Robert Cialdini's book, Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. And then you read that book. And in that book, he might make references to case studies that you want to dig deeper. So you keep diving deeper and deeper. And then long before you know it, you've acquired a new soft skill. And soft skills, unlike hard skills, are very difficult to teach and even harder to apply. And that's what we on this channel, the Future, endeavor to do, to try to teach you guys the soft skills that you don't really learn in school, because most of them are too focused on the hard skills. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to tell you one other thing. The secret to confidence is knowing that you have a process that is bulletproof to solve any kind of problem. In the last year, I've been asked to consult on a virtual reality experience, to name projects. I want to come up with a third one because things work better in threes, but I can't remember the third one right now. But I keep getting asked to do things that I have no expertise in. I'm talking about like zero. But I walk into the meetings confident, not falsely confident, not full of bravado, knowing that I'm just going to go back to my process. I'm going to begin with a large search for things that could include calling people that I know, smart people, asking them for help, and getting down to the things like, yes, I can learn everything that needs to be learned to solve the problem just in time. And clients trust that I can do that, and I deliver. So you guys spend some time thinking about your process and refine it, because no matter what problem comes at you, you should be able to solve it, hard, soft, or otherwise. Okay? All right. My lighting crew is very slow to move in here. Are they not coming?
I don't know. I texted Al.
How about
Aaron?
one of you guys just help me out and go there and just grab the dude? Because
I mean, you look fine, Chris.
Don't look
but
fine.
I don't want to
just tell me anybody. Okay, it's fine. Fine. It's like I'm so dark in here. I'm gonna take off my hat. All right.
So,
The power one.
Chris.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so if you could say 3 things that I can focus on that will translate well from in-house to, on my own, what are those 3 things that are soft skills?
In-house to being on your own. Okay, we have an episode called In-House Designers. Have you watched that episode yet?
I don't think I've watched that one.
Okay, I want you to watch that. And then let's circle back after you watch it, okay? Because I laid out the blueprint for what you need to do if you're an in-house designer. And I'll make it short for you guys to kind of tease you if you haven't watched it already. Is a couple of things. Is you have car insurance. It's required by the law, right? And you theoretically had health insurance until somebody took it away. But everybody in America should have health insurance. But very few people have job insurance. Well, you're like, well, where's his job insurance? And how do I sign up for this? Because we all know having a permanent job is an illusion. It's an illusion because you may not fit there because you don't want to adapt or grow into the company. They might change. They might have to downsize. All kinds of weird things might happen there. Or the company could just become irrelevant. They tried hard and they just went out of business. Like everybody that used to work for the, Blockbuster? Warehouse Records? Tower Records?
Yeah.
Maybe Walden Books or any of these kind of bookstores. They're all out of business. Not for not trying. And everybody that worked for them is SOL. Because they didn't have job insurance. So what I would suggest everybody do, if you're full-time somewhere, it's a false security that you have. What I would suggest is you start preparing for the day that you might get fired, the day that you might outgrow the company or the company outgrows you. Develop the other skills, management skills, leadership skills. Get some entrepreneurial smarts in you, or learn a new skill set, or develop a social following around the things that you do. That would make a lot of sense. So that if they come and that day does come, and it's going to come at some point, you have another plan. There's the thing we always talk about, which is to do some side hustle. If you do some side hustle, you can start to develop what it's like to actually work with a client. Just don't let it interfere with your regular job. I'm not advocating for you to do that. Thank you, Matthew. All right, I'm back with the light. The light is good.
Hello.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to ask you to watch that first and get as much information as you can from that show. That show was a direct response to why you and I are talking right now, Ryan, because you and I met each other in person at Adobe Max. I started to meet all these in-house designers. So when I came back to LA, I produced an episode for in-house designers. So
and I missed it.
Nah, that's all right. I don't expect everybody to watch all 400 plus videos that we make. However, when they do ask me a question, I say, go watch the video. That's fair, right?
Yeah.
And in case you guys are wondering, is Chris talking a little funny? Yes, I am. I have an ulcer on my tongue, and I'm just powering through this live stream because we've committed to it. All right, because I'm not a quitter. All right, next question. Who is it? Who's up?
I guess I kind of want to follow up a little bit on what you just said. One of the first times that I heard about, I heard you was that motionographer talk that you had where you talked about bricklayers.
Oh, here we go. Controversy starting up.
Here we go.
Okay,
no, actually, I was actually really happy that you brought that up, because having gone to art school myself, I do know for a fact that they don't really teach a lot of the soft skills that you just talked about. Mm-hmm. So I guess my follow-up question is, what do you think they should be teaching? Because I feel that I felt unprepared when I came out of school to deal with clients' needs and what they wanted, and a lot of the host of other stuff. So what do you think they should be teaching in terms of that to their students?
Okay, so here's the problem, right? The world is changing really fast. It's going to change at a faster rate than what schools can react to, because you can't be developing a curriculum as the world's forming, right? All this stuff that Gary Vaynerchuk is doing in terms of social media and influencing, what school, what program is teaching that right now? What school is teaching you about how to start your own company like Airbnb? I don't know that there are that many schools that can do that are qualified to do that, and it's probably unrealistic for us to expect them to do that. If I were able to somehow magically, miraculously change school programs, what I would ask them to try to teach your students is to learn how to learn. Maybe the first year would just be about foundational studies so that you learn about communication, literature, philosophy, psychology, those kinds of things, but very selectively for artists to learn so that they can apply it in what they do. We're not trying to make you a doctor, but we do want to give you a little understanding of how people think, how they behave, what motivates them, so that you can do your job better. So even if you're working in animation, perhaps you learn somehow that by moving something a particular way or moving the camera, it creates a certain feeling or emotion within people. So that if the target is to inspire them to do something, you might have more tools to communicate that idea to them, because that's what's the really important part. And I would use some very non-traditional tools and methods to teach people. I would try to instill upon them a Socratic approach to teaching and talking in a question-based form versus just saying, show me the work, I tell you what's wrong. Show me the work, I tell you what's wrong. This is a much more difficult way to teach. It takes a lot more time. But did you guys notice when Ryan asked the question of how can he acquire hard skills or soft skills? What did I do? I didn't tell him the answer. I'm showing you, I'm demonstrating to you. I just turned the question back to him. How do you do this? And he gave me some answers. Then I asked him questions about how he does it for a technical skill. Then he answered. Then he came upon the realization himself. It was incongruent how he solves one problem versus the other. Something that's worked for him for many years, he's abandoned and tried something else. That's because he's put on the spot. But ultimately, if I help Ryan realize this is how you solve all problems, and actually let's focus a little bit more on what your process looks like. So if I ask Ryan tomorrow, if an asteroid is coming towards Earth at a certain angle at a certain velocity, how do we know if it's going to hit the Earth or not? Ryan might throw up his hands like, Chris, I have no freaking idea. I give up. That's not in my area of expertise. But if he had a really solid process, he could put that thing through that funnel, squeeze it out on the other end, he's going to have an answer. Like he's going to say to me, given that velocity and that angle of trajectory and the rate in which it's burning up, we have nothing to worry about. So this is, I think, what it means to learn how to learn. This is not one of those inception puzzles where there's no real answer and I'm giving you a smoke and mirrors thing. This is really what I believe. And so I have many, many examples. I don't want to bore you guys about how I try and teach my kids how to think and work like this, giving them enough clues and saying, you need to figure it out. Dad's here. I could do it all for you, but I don't want to because that's going to hurt you. To survive in the information age, 21st century, you need to learn how to learn. You got to figure out a solution. Okay. So that means re-engineering the entire curriculum of the program and putting teachers in who are really good at helping you to develop the questions for you to find your own answers, because all the answers are already out there. I also believe we need to kill this model of teaching information in the classroom because, like I said, all that you want to know is practically out there. Most of it is for free. Some of it's for very little money relative to education. So we can reduce class time and the focus of classrooms away from this, push this button, do this. You should learn that at home. But when you come to school, let's talk about why you do those things. What was your intent? What was your process like? And by the way, this is the result of that process. And if I can teach you that, when you're working on your own project, you will know in your heart before you even come to class, this isn't working. I couldn't find a solution, but I knew it wasn't working. My process failed me here. Refine your process. Okay.
So when are you opening the school now?
Are you in Los Angeles?
I am not. I'm in New York.
That would be a problem. You know, we're trying to figure all this stuff out, and it's happening in a very dynamic way. I don't want to clog up our time and talk about the vision, the plan, how we're going to do that. That'll be another episode. We're trying to keep all these things super focused. Our fans want us to be super focused. No, that's why I cut the intro to, and, narrow. Okay.
No, I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay. Another time, if we have time. And
yeah.
So
definitely.
let's keep rolling here. I know you guys have pages and pages of questions, so let's keep rolling.
Let me throw one out. Mine is, again, coming from the perspective of a freelancer who's working with their own clients. So what is your opinion on getting comfortable with a specific client? Because, I have clients that come to me for one gig and I'm done with them, but every once in a while I get one client that loves the way that I work. They love the work that I'm doing, and they want to continue to book me, but I'm not that excited about the work. It's a good paycheck, but it's not pushing me creatively or artistically. So what's your opinion on staying with a client like that, and that isn't challenging me and not necessarily producing any content that I'm going to want to showcase?
Okay. You're a freelancer and you are working for a studio that does motion design work, and they keep booking you, but you're not that interested in the work, something like that?
Well, I'm thinking more just specifically of a client who needs motion, that has motion needs, that isn't necessarily a production company. It's just
Okay.
a direct-to-client situation.
Direct-to-client situation. Okay, this is excellent. So you're not a freelancer in this case. You know what you are?
Yeah, I guess you're more of a small business.
You're an independent business owner. And I want to keep drilling this in, and I don't care if you guys on the internets, you trolls, if you disagree with me or not, I'm sticking to my talking points here. All right? You're an independent business owner, and this is a very different thing. So this is a client that wants you to do a thing. They've known you as a freelancer. Do you work on site or not? Do you work off site?
Remote.
Right. So you're under your own direction. You work with your own equipment, and they don't see how you work. They don't know how the sausage is made. Here's what I would suggest that you do. Now, I would stop charging on a day rate or an hourly rate with them. I would charge a project fee. You know the drill. You know them well. They know you well. You guys like each other. It's just you're not that thrilled about the work anymore. Right?
Right.
And we're going to practice this thing called arbitrage. You know what arbitrage is?
I do not.
You need to go on my Facebook page, but other than that, I forgive you for right now. Go look it up. The word arbitrage. This is what it means. Arbitrage. Well, you know what? I'm not going to try and just wing this. I'm going to type it in. I too have fingers that work. I'll type it in, arbitrage. And it says, in economics and finance, arbitrage. Oh, you are on my screen. Okay, good. Let me blow it up here. In economics and finance, arbitrage is the practice of taking advantage of a price difference between two or more markets, striking a combination of matching deals that capitalize upon the imbalance. You got that?
Got it.
Okay, let me explain that in real terms now. You have a client that has a need, and they're going to pay you something. How much money do you think you can charge them for the next project that you work on? What do you think that dollar amount is? Jake?
I guess it depends on what services I'm going to be providing.
Here, you know, for the sake of the show, this is when I put the turkey in the oven.
Let's say
and pull it back out,
10,000.
that's a good number, my friend, because it's a nice round number. So $10,000 project. That's what the market's willing to pay you to do this. Okay? So what you do is you take the project and you find somebody else who do the project for you for how much money?
$5,000.
$3,000, correct.
3,000.
Yes. You should try to spend about 30% of the project on somebody else, not 50%.
Okay.
There's a lot
Got
of
it.
economics that go into this, and I'm not going to explain it right now because it'll make your head hurt, okay? Try to keep your cost of goods sold, COGS, cost of goods sold, to 30% or less. There are a lot of people out in the world that you can call, including the entire group of people I manage as freelancers, that are motion designers based in the Philippines or somewhere else. They're very good, by the way, in Thailand, in Vietnam, wherever else, in Eastern Europe, that would be happy to do this project because their annual salary, the average is $5,000 to $7,000 a year. So to get $3,000 for one project from you would be half of what they make in a year. You're taking advantage of the imbalance between different markets, you see?
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is you look at the reel, and now you become the independent business owner, you see? So this is the mindset change, and you get to like look through their reels like, oh, you didn't catch my eye. You didn't tell me what it was. You wasted 20 seconds of my time. Screw you. Next one, right? You get to pick and build up a catalog of people that you think are really good. You've even called some of them up ahead of time because you're really smart and you've been paying attention to the show. You call them up ahead of time like, I love your work. Oh, where are you from? Romania? Cool. How do you work? Do you have availability? Blah, blah, blah. What? Right? Great. So when the day comes when you need to give them work, you're not panicked. You already have a roster of people that you want to work with. So you send them work their way and they work on it. And you also don't care how the sausage is made. That guy could have, 12 teenagers working for him and they get the work done. It doesn't matter to you. You do quality control. So that's part of the money that you put into this project is your quality control. And you also know that if they totally F up and they drop the ball, you could do it yourself. Right?
All right.
So
Yeah.
what you want to do is have clear checkpoints with the team and to disperse the money as it relates to the milestones that they complete. Do not pay them all up front. You'd be a fool to do that, especially a brand new relationship with a country that you have no way to kind of follow the money trail and get any of it back. Okay? Then you pay them. They're thrilled. They'll probably send you a cookie or a cake from their country. You've made somebody's life better. You've spent $2,000 or $3,000 on you working on it, managing them, and you've pocketed $4,000 as profit. Money that you get to put away, for a rainy day for you and your wife.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any kids?
I do.
Oh, okay. For that college fund that you need to get started like yesterday.
Right.
Okay. That's how this works. That's arbitrage. Okay. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it does.
Okay. You have to take advantage of market forces. So a lot of people are scared of like sites like Fiverr or 99 Designs or Elance and all these kinds of things. I love it because you know why? I'm not competing with people on there. I'm going to take advantage of the market forces as they be. So we have great people from all over the country, all over the world, who do incredible work. They quote me a price that's fair to them. And for me, it's a deal. We all win. And they're all very good. But I've spent a lot of time, maybe the last 10 years, building up a book of people that I trust and would work with. Okay. Matthew, Greg, you want to add anything to this?
No, I have a similar relationship going on right now with somebody that I'm working with, and it's not like I'm taking advantage of the different economies because they're local here. But it's a person that I've been working with for many, many years, and he's just approached me and said like, hey, I want to figure stuff out. I want to figure out how I can work from home more. I want to do more experimentation, and I need to do that on my own hours. I think working within the office is a little bit restrictive. You think... And he was very expressive about that towards me. And I knew I wanted to do more work with him. So I just told him, it's like, hey, for this next project, can I give you more of this work? Can you just take care of everything, take it all off my plate so I don't have to worry about it, and I'll just pay you a project fee. It's like, here's the project fee, you manage it, you could do whatever you want, buy whatever equipment you want, hire people, I don't care, as long as I get the thing at the end of the day, I trust you. And then we're working like that. So it's a thing that's great for me too as a creative director, where I could shed off a lot of my responsibilities.
You said shed, right? S-H-E-D, shed off a lot of the work.
It's good to shed off those responsibilities for me, and he's running all of that part, and I'm just checking in like once a day. It's like, oh yeah, it looks good, keep going.
Yeah, Matthew, you, me, Greg, we know a lot of people who are very, very talented, who are senior level, who are very trustworthy, dependable, go the extra mile for us, and we don't care where they work from, how they get the work done. We give you, it's like this. It's like a drug deal. Like, I'm going to leave a package of, or an envelope of money on the bench. I'm going to walk away. When I come back, there'll be a box there of goods. I don't ask questions. You don't ask questions. And this is how life works. Right? And then we take that box to our clients. Like, guess what I made for you guys?
Right.
Here it is. You love it or what? Great. Thanks for the $10,000. A boom. That would be, there we go. All right. Next question. Who's got it?
Guys.
I got another question.
Oh, you know what? Wait. What am I doing? We're being rude hosts. What about our Facebook and our YouTube and our Twitch community? Are they asking anything good, Greg? Usually Facebook's a little bit smarter than YouTube, but YouTube wins by numbers. Right?
Wow.
We just lost all our subscribers. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm trying to be a good boy. I'm trying real hard. 2018 is the year I change. Okay.
You're doing great. I wrote down two questions. These are from way earlier. One is, I guess, akin to more of a freelance situation. So, a while back, Ira Cruz asked, what do you do in the situation of late payments from a client? So something's like a month or two late, and there's and you've put in a clause like, hey, there's an interest fee. Do you ever take legal action? Like, what happens then?
Oh, the old late payment question.
Yep.
I have a great answer. I'm going to ask Matthew. Matthew, what do you do?
Oh man, I don't know. You just keep pounding them. You just keep pounding them. I think you appeal to their human side first and be like, hey, look, I don't know what challenges you're facing right now. Let's hop on a call. Let's just talk about this. I know we did a good job with you guys, and we delivered the work, or we're about to deliver the work, and we haven't seen the last payment. What's up? What's going on? I don't want to make this harder than it is for you. Let's just talk about what you're facing, and let's figure something out, because I want to get paid and I want to make it comfortable for you, where we're not at odds with each other. This was a great relationship so far, but we got into this point. I don't want it to go sour just because of this.
Right.
So that's how I would approach it. I don't know for the follow-up. I've never had to do anything legal after that.
Yeah.
But I try to relieve the friction before I try and make it worse.
We're still talking about business, right?
Still talking about business.
Relieving the friction.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all relationships.
Okay. We're not talking about something about Mary right now.
No.
Okay. Ladies will know this more than dudes will. You ever been around some dudes and you feel like, that dude's a creep. I have to watch my drink because he might slip something in there. You guys ever get that feeling?
A
That
bit.
there's people you can't trust, or keep my eye on my purse because that is a little sketch. It's the same is true about business. Okay? When you go and work for a company as a freelancer, companies have reputations. Guess what? They're easy to find out. So if you go into a situation blind and dumb, and you don't do any research on these people, or you do something much, much worse, is you ignore all of it. You think, oh, I'm the golden child. I've been hearing rumors about their impending bankruptcy. They haven't paid people in 3.5 months. They're over leveraged in all their projects, but I'm the one they're going to pay full rate to. And people do this, believe it or not. So first of all, do your homework. Trust your instincts. If you get a bad vibe, just walk away. It's not worth it. Okay? You don't want to wake up without a liver or a kidney or something like that. You just don't go in there. The next thing, as a freelancer, you should be invoicing every 2 weeks, or if you're not sure, invoice every single week.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a freelancer, you should ask them ahead of time, what are your payment terms? They're like, oh, we pay net 30, net 15, net 10, net 5, whatever it is. You need to know that up front. So the expectations are very clear. Okay? Now, I would say this to them, especially if you've never worked with them, or they're fly-by-night operation, they haven't been in business for a long time. I would say this is, I would be very honest. I would say, you know what? I hate to say this, but my runway is very short. Can I ask you for an exception? The first couple of weeks that I work here, can you pay me within days? Because I need it to make rent. You can make up a story. I'd rather be embarrassed that people think I can't afford life than for them to rip me off. Okay? I'd rather them think that I'm cheap or whatever than to get ripped off, and it's okay, because I really don't care what other people think. That's a secret in life. Okay? So make sure the payment terms are clear, that you're invoicing on a regular basis, that you ask other people that are in the building, hey, how are they on payment? Are they good? And then manage accordingly. And at the end of the day, you're going to realize something. Unless you have a lot of free time, the idea of a lawsuit or chasing somebody down like this, it's not very realistic. You're going to spend so much time and energy, and there's a cost. There's something called, oops, lost the screen there. There's an opportunity cost. When your mind is focused on chasing money and dealing with conflict, and you're not doing work, if your day rate was, as Orca put it, like $450, I believe she's the one who said that. Yeah, $450. Dorca, she said $450. Well, every day that you're not working and focusing on that, you're costing yourself $450. So 10 days later, you've cost yourself $4,500. And you're trying to get $2,000 in payment. You just have to do the math. So there's been times before that I've been stiffed on jobs. I just chalk it up as an expensive learning lesson. And I've been stiffed for tens of thousands of dollars, you guys. But it's really not worth it for me to chase down. I move on. Okay, that was a rough question. So Greg, hold your second question if it's going to be like that deep for the next round. Let's get back into our crew. What else do you guys have for me?
All right, I got a question for you.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to ask you a question first, and I'm going to give you the reason why I'm asking the question. How does
Okay.
that sound?
Sounds excellent.
All right. Hang on, I wrote it down. Just a second. So we met at Adobe Max. What did you think about my approach, right?
Yes.
And then what would you suggest people kind of, let's see, what would you suggest for people who are wanting advice or wisdom from others that are doing well in the field? And the reason I'm asking that question, so here's the follow-up, is because
Wait, you asked 2 questions here. What do you think of my approach? What do you suggest? And you see, my brain's gonna explode here in a second. So give me your most important question up front.
Okay. All right. What would you suggest for people who are wanting advice from someone that's doing well in the field, that what they should have prepared, beforehand, or what they should be asking?
Okay, very good question. Is this in person or is this via the internet?
In person.
In person. Okay. I do realize something, that it takes a lot of courage to walk up to somebody that you admire and to ask them a question, especially when they're surrounded by other people who want to ask them the same kinds of thing. How are you going to break through that? That's a difficult thing. I don't have the answer for that. But let's just say that you're up into that moment and you step up and it's now your time to ask your question. I would first start by just paying them a really soft compliment, like, I'll watch your show, I love what you do, or I've read your book, I've been following you for some time. I got this question. When you said this before, I wasn't sure what you meant. Can you clarify that? That demonstrates a lot of different things, that you're not some rando who just walked up. You've done your homework. You know what it is that you need to ask them. And it shows that you have paid attention to what they're saying. So they might lean in a little bit more. Okay. I just was on a podcast interview this morning, and the guy who interviewed me, he knew so much about me. He was asking questions that I can tell he's done so much homework. And that impressed me. So then I would just get to the question. Don't tell him your life story. And for some reason, I think I have it on my face somewhere, like right around here, where it says, tell me your life story. Then people come up to me like, oh, okay, so I was in Nicaragua, and then 2 years later I was doing this, and I was a carpenter. My mom beat me, and it's like, and I'm like, yeah. And then my eyes are just glazed over, because I do try to practice listening intently and really kind of focus listening. So I'm listening literally to every word that you use, and at a certain point, I'm gone. And if you ever try the listening exercise, you'll know it's very difficult to hold in every single word. And that's a difficult thing. So just get to the question. The question would be something like, how do I ask questions of somebody that I admire? Do you have any advice on that? Then they might throw back, can you be a little bit more specific? What do you mean? What kind of answers are you looking for? Whatever. Then you give more information. This is how rapport begins to build. When you're talking to somebody, I think it's an advantage to listen more and talk less, especially if you hope to glean some information from them. Okay? And I'll tell this, I'm not going to out any specific person, but you guys know I actually sell consulting time, like in 1 hour blocks. And believe it or not, some people I consult do at least half the talking during that hour. What they hope to gain in the 30 minutes of them talking, I do not know. Maybe they just need a friend to listen, and I'll be there. But there's only so much I can do if I'm just sitting here listening to you. Okay, Ryan? And I believe you approached me at the party. If I remember correctly, it was at night, and just so people were flanking me, and you did it fine. I wasn't scared of you. And you didn't seem like you didn't have beer breaths or just like, Chris, I saw you on Facebook. Hey, what do you think about this? And why you call me a bricklayer? I'm like, oh, geez, I'm walking out of here. You didn't do any of that. We're all good. We're all good. Okay. So it was great. Your approach was smooth. And then I saw you the next day, and we continued to talk, and it was all good. Very
well, now that I know that you charge so much for consulting, like I had 4 hours of your time the second day. I feel,
well, the bill's coming.
Thank
I'm
you.
just bad at paperwork.
Oh.
I'm out of here, guys. See you later. Next call.
And Brian will be getting that bill later.
Yes, we will. All right. Okay. Next question.
I have one more, unless Greg wants to do his.
Where are we
Or
doing on
you-
the question stack here? Are we almost done, or what page are we on here?
Yeah, I think we're almost done.
Yeah.
Oh, we
Oh,
are. Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Look at that, you guys. Okay. Keep going.
Be prepared.
All right. You guys are doing great.
Do you want one more question or no?
No, keep going.
I have one more, like just one quick one. I swear.
Keep going. Let's go.
Another
Let's go.
off-script question.
Valuable time. You're eating up just even telling me about the question you're about to ask. Go ahead.
All right. So just not to eat up time. Do you suggest that we do mentorships or any kind of business or related or leadership mentorships? The same way that you recommend, because I've seen you talk about this before, mentorships for art and design.
Okay. I'm going to offer this question up to Greg and Matthew first. I want to give them some airtime. Do you guys want to tackle this, or you want me to just do it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I did the same for you, Chris, back in 2000. I'm sure Greg did the same when they were three-legged legs, but when we were running our own company, Born, back in 2007-8, I had several conversations with you, and it was very helpful to have somebody else who had a decade or more experience ahead of me, just like to point out some of the pitfalls.
Just call me old right on the spot.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Just do
I'm
it.
just saying. No, it was super helpful. It's good to have that, because obviously you're someone who has foresight. Anyone who has been in a particular industry long enough, they've already made the mistakes themselves, so it's great to learn from that. If you could find somebody that you could attach yourself to, or at least borrow some time from, it's totally worth it. Like, why wouldn't you? If it gives you an opportunity to learn and grow, like, take advantage of that, especially if somebody's willing to give you the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we were pretty fortunate that that person happened to be Chris. And I'm not saying that because he's my boss. I'm saying that because he's not only a really smart guy, but look at how much he shares with, the internet for free. So when I was coming up, every conversation I was able to sneak in with Chris was just like pure gold. So if you can find someone like that, highly recommend it. Absolutely.
Okay. So leadership and mentorship. Now, it's going to get difficult as time goes on for you to find a good mentor that's going to be able to take you under their wing. But a mentor doesn't have to come in the traditional form of a human being living and breathing in the same room as you. A mentor is just someone that you learn from and shares their knowledge with you. And luckily, again, we live in the best time to be alive. The time is right now, because there are so many books, audio tapes, podcasts, YouTube videos, white papers, article, blog things that you can actually read what somebody thinks. And they put a lot of thought into it, most of them. If they're going to be your mentor anyways, you're reading their thoughts. That's pretty cool. I think people put too much emphasis on the human in front of them. And so rather than learn from what they can grab, they just wait. And time moves on. An opportunity passes us by. So I think it's more important that you get what you can right now. There are over 400, I think we're like 450 videos right now on YouTube. Very few people have actually watched them and watched them with the kind of intensity that they're actually looking at it like this is a college lecture. They're not really paying that careful attention to it because they keep asking us the same questions over and over again. So that's one problem. So there's so much information out there already. Before we ask for more of it, let's just do a better job of consuming what's out there. Okay? When you actually meet a person that might have the time, I want you to try to approach them a little bit differently. So this is going to dovetail back into Ryan's question, which is this. Try to think what you can do to help them. Whenever there's a transaction, there's an exchange of value that's happening. Oh, will you help me wash my car? Yeah, that means in my favorite bank, you owe me one somewhere, I think, right? We help each other out and we keep exchanging that. So when you approach a mentor, you're going to take time from them. And if they're very valuable, that time is valuable too. So they have to be very thrifty who they give that away to. But what you can do is your time is less valuable, so you can exchange more of your time for a little bit of their time. So if you give them 5 hours of your time, maybe they'll give you 10, 15 minutes or whatever it is. So there's some kind of equation where it makes sense for both people. So they'll sit in and they'll coach you through a few concepts and you go help them out. Just do whatever it is they need help with. And just the gesture of offering it to them, like, hey, I would love to get a few minutes of your time to coach me on some things I can't seem to solve on my own. I've read your books, I've watched your videos, and I know your time is really valuable. This is what I do. I'm an animator, a 2D animator. I would be happy to do something that you need. Maybe there's a video project that you can do, a launch video. Maybe I can help you with your social media. in exchange for your time. Is that something you would consider? That's a pretty good approach, don't you think?
No,
Okay.
I never really thought about that. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Okay, that answers two people's questions and even intend to. So, Ryan and Dorka, you're welcome. Boom. All right, who's next?
I do have one more off-script question again.
Okay, hold on. Are we nearing the end of your questions, you guys? Because Greg's got another question. We will take your question first, Alex, and then we're gonna cut to Greg, and Greg is ready. Okay, go ahead.
Awesome. So a lot of these have been positive, and I'm sorry for being so negative. And I do have to preface this with saying, like, Chris, all your soft skill videos have been immensely helpful to me. But in navigating, again, like, I guess, like, if a culture doesn't fit, if a boss is not great, maybe people aren't great, when and how, like, would you decide to pull the plug then, in a way that, like, you know, you still want to be on a great note with them, you still want to be on good terms with everyone, you know? And I feel like this is, again, a loaded question where it's like, am I talking about a boss or a company culture or people, but just generally leaving on positive notes? I mean, and when do you make the choice to leave? Well, you answered that before, but sorry. Yeah, definitely loaded question.
Okay. That's actually not too bad. All right, you guys do
Okay.
need to practice the art of asking questions, and I'm seeing improvement over the arc of the show. But you know, I'm a perfectionist, and I want to work towards that. So you guys watch the show again and kind of like, oh, I could have asked it this way, and just keep practicing that. That's totally okay. It's not a dig on you. Okay, you're saying for a number of reasons it's not working anymore. I just want to get out, and I want to end it on very positive terms. Relatively straightforward. If your booking is over, shake hands, tell them a little white lie. It was a pleasure working with you. I appreciate you hiring me. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Shake their hand. The next time they call you, your price has gone up so much, or you're always booked for some reason on other projects. That's it. That's how you get out. You thank people for the opportunity. It's just not a good fit for you. Okay? Now, if you want to take a step further, because some people are like, no. I'm all about the truth, radical transparency. Okay, there's a way to do that too without offending people. Okay? Let's just say there's a couple things that you don't like, and I'm going to try to use your words to the best of my ability in this situation. Thank you for the work opportunity. I appreciate it. I don't think, honestly, this is a good fit for me here. I don't think I have the right skill sets for the things that you're looking for. And so I do appreciate it. And I just want to let you know about that in case you think about booking me again. Now, that's a little harder to say, and I'm not sure that's necessary to say, but if that's what you wanted to do, you could do that as well. Okay?
Yeah.
You just got to get out. So you got to unbook yourself and be done. Finish the commitment, and then don't be available anymore. It happens all the time. And one trick is, and I think people talk about this a lot, which is you are your first hold.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So whenever somebody calls you, it's like, okay, I already have a first hold. Let me check. That allows you to say no. That's it. So when you finish your booking, they're like, hey, we'd like to book you again. I'm sorry, I have a first hold. Let me check. And you look in your diary, your dear diary, I got nothing to do. I'm sorry, I'm really busy this month. That's all.
Right. And
Okay.
I think that's good in terms of freelance. It's really easy because you have a time commitment. If it's staff, it's very different. And we've had people quit on us and done it graciously in very good ways. I can think of one, me and Greg know who this person is, but you know, it's like for a year they worked for us. And after 1 year of working with us, he came up to us and said like, hey, you know, I've worked here for a while, learned a lot. And, you know, my goal, which I told you guys in the beginning, was to do this, this, and this. I feel like some of it I wasn't able to fulfill here. And, you know, I want to spread my wings and figure out what else is out there for me. Of course, we counter-offered and said, like, oh, you know, we really love working with you. You're amazing. Can we just give you more money? Will that incentivize you to stay? And it's like, you know, I think we're way too far of a gap between what I'm looking for there to really keep me here. It's like, okay, you know, we tried. This makes sense. We still love you. We'd love to bring you back as a freelancer later. It's just, that's the radical transparency part where it's like, he was very clear up front about what he wanted. And then down the line, a year later, once I got to a good point, it's like, okay, well, it's not working for me. But he didn't just like, here's my 2 weeks, I'm done. It's like, okay, I know I'm working on several active projects. I don't want to leave you guys high and dry. Let me finish those projects first until you guys figure out how to, release me comfortably. Let me know when that is. We'll just discuss a good ending date for me.
That's a better answer than the one I gave you. So for that, Matthew.
Well, but Chris, I was.
Hold on. Let him have his moment in the sun. All right. Now we're done with that. Okay. That one wasn't very loud. I'll have to give you a different one later, Matthew. Matthew said it much better. It's like, I want to pursue this thing in my life. I have a passion for it. And I appreciate the opportunity here, but I feel like I need to pursue this with my life. That's it. People have done that to me all the time. I'm like, good, you go do that.
Yeah, it's really good to hear the how you guys phrase things in your clarity, because definitely personal struggles with the word vomit, and just when you are on the spot. So it's just good to hear examples of a clear-headed person.
Okay. There is an episode that you can watch. It's called The Art of Communication. That'll help you swallow the word vomit.
Oh my gosh. For the record, I went through, and for more than a month, I was trying to watch one of your talks a day, but there is a lot, and it's a lot to digest. But I do.
There is. I endeavor to make more videos than you can humanly watch. Right?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Keep them coming.
I forget who it was, but there's a celebrity who said, I will die on the treadmill before I get off. You will get off first. We'll make more videos until your eyes fall off, and then you can't watch all our videos. That is.
Oh my gosh.
Right, what a weird goal. Okay, Mr. Greg Gunn.
Yes,
I
sir.
believe there's a question coming in.
Yeah, I have a.
Okay, here it is. It's coming in. Okay, it's over the newswire. Go ahead.
I want to stack my paper.
Yes, you need to do. Hey, let me work the soundboard. You guys need to take a breath from time to time. Okay, go ahead.
Good. So this was a question from Maxwell Hathaway. This is very early on in the stream, where I think we were talking about how to market yourself as a business versus a freelancer. And Chris, you had mentioned you need a capabilities deck, and Maxwell said, "What is a capabilities deck?" Which I think is a very good question.
Okay, so are you asking the question and answering it too, and then throwing me back to me?
That's a question for you.
Are you sure it's for me? Okay, so how do you market yourself differently as a freelancer and as opposed to a business?
Well, no, that was where this question came from. They want to know what a capabilities deck is.
All right. Well, you know what I'm gonna do?
There we go.
I'm gonna go on the internet. I'm gonna type in capabilities deck. You know what I mean? Because anybody, if you can find the answer, why ditch your capabilities deck from March? Kill the There's a lot of people who want you to ditch the capabilities deck. All right. So here's the thing, you guys. This is what I say to my kids all the time. Dad, but can you look it up on the internet first? Do not let me be the first stop to your answer train. Okay? Put in a little bit of effort and energy. And if we spent some time and looked on the internet for a capabilities deck, we might find something. I'm going to give you my layperson definition of what a capabilities deck is. I assume a capabilities deck is a deck, and a deck is made up of multiple slides. The fewer, the better. That speaks to what you're capable of doing. It shows the breadth of the work that you do and the problems that you solve. Your services, basically. So if you're a branding agency, you might say, here's my branding deck. This is my capabilities. And we come up with naming. We write messaging. We do identity design. We do graphic design, product packaging, and we do competitive research. We do whatever it is. And then you would then show the client some examples of what it is you just claimed you could do. That is a capabilities deck. There's certain things that you generally include in the capabilities deck. You generally include the bios of the principals, the bios of the principals. You include services that you do. You might outline some rough working methodology, and then you show examples of what you do. That's it in a nutshell. If you want more specific information, I would recommend you guys go to the Perfect Proposal by Ben Burns. He outlines the steps, what you're trying to do in building a proposal, which is a capabilities deck. essentially. And you're going to get step-by-step information there. All right. Is that okay? Does anybody find a better definition of capabilities, Jack, than the one that I didn't find? Okay.
I'll take it.
All right. You take it as in that's satisfactory, or
Yes.
okay. Okay. You would speak on behalf of the internet and say that is a fine answer, sir.
Yes.
All right. Okay, guys. On to my Zoom crew, School of Motion. It is almost 7:00 here on the West Coast. Let's end it on one really super strong question, unless you guys are done. Are you?
Yeah.
I'm done.
Uh-oh. What's going on?
One last one.
Who wants the last question? Last call, as they say.
I think we should tie back to School of Motion a little bit.
Let's do it.
All right. So obviously we talked a lot about like learning to learn. And I think something that really popped up when I did the School of Motion Animation Bootcamp course is how Joey taught was learning principles and not the technical skills, you know, like the hard skills that we were talking about. And that really just totally transformed my career, specifically, not just because of like what I learned in that course, but like the principles I learned, but like how to learn basically and what things I should be looking for. And so if anybody's really looking to take it up a notch, that's a good thing. But you just joined the School of Motion Alumni Facebook group. What do you think about the culture in there?
Oh, see, the question came at the end again. You see that? I was like, I think Ryan's going to figure this out before the end of the show, and it's not true. All right, that's cool. It was a pitch.
It was a pitch.
Oh, it was a pitch? I think
Yeah,
the School
kind
of
of.
Motion Alumni Group is awesome. You guys talk about some really cool things. Unfortunately, and I have to admit, I'm on like 17 different groups, some of which I own and manage, so it's a lot for me to be bouncing around. So every once in a while, I open myself up and I say, hey, what kind of questions and issues do you guys have? I'm trying to listen into pain points. And the reason why I think you guys are on the show is because you represent a whole segment of our audience, the motion designers of the world, if you will. And you're going to ask questions that are relevant to those people. And that's why I think this is good. I think we can do this on a semi-regular basis when you feel like, oh, I got a whole set of new issues that I want to talk to you about. And I've seen the 400 episodes, and then come back and let's do this again, right? You guys are very active in that group, and you can listen to see like what's going on, like what issues keep getting repeated, and perhaps some disinformation is going out there that is going to hurt people, and we should talk about that. Now, why is this show called Raw? Maybe it's how I make people feel after they watch it. I don't know. Maybe because this is unscripted, but really what I think about it is if we stop acting, if we stop being fake and we get real, I want to get to the raw stuff, right? I don't want it to be like all these nice questions like, hey, Chris, I got creamed on this thing. I effed up this job. How do I save face? Like, I want to get real with you guys. That's all I want to do. So perhaps that's what you can do. You guys can scrape what's happening in the School of Motion Alumni Group and let me know what the pain points really are. What's it like on the street, working in small town USA, Main Street, trying to get work? What struggles are you having? I want to hear from those people. I think I can help them. Okay?
Cool.
All right. Well, I want to thank you guys. Let's cut to you guys.
Thank
All
you.
you guys, the grid view.
Yeah,
Here we go.
Thanks for having us on.
There
Thank
we
you for
go.
having us.
That's everybody. That's awesome.
Thank you so much for having us. Seriously.
Yeah.
Hey, it is
Real
my pleasure. Thank you for staying up late, you guys. I think a lot of you guys are East Coasters, and we had to kind of do a little dance to be able to do the show. And I appreciate you being on the show. I also want to say thank you to Greg, to Matthew, to Erica. Thank you, you guys. If you guys don't know this, we are doing fewer live streams. We're going to be doing more edited content because that's what people ask for. And I know how this is going to work. I know how this is going to work. As soon as we stop doing live streams, people are like, hey, what happened to the live streams? It's just the way the internet works. With that, I'm going to close off this segment. Thanks for sticking it out with us, you guys. We're a little bumpy in the new year. I just want to say you are not defined by your past. The future is what you make it. And let's cut to my deck. See you guys.